Alright, I want to hit like 5 points during this. So, I've recorded this way too many times because I've gone off on way too many tangents. Essentially, the points I want to hit are why people idolize people like John Petrucci, Zach Wilde, Steve Vai, all these shredders that play ridiculously fast and they think they're on like another plane of realm of existence. They think it's unattainable to get there. I also want to cover why you can't do that. I also want to cover what's holding you back, like exactly why it is you can't do that. And then as well, I want to cover how to combat that. And then I also want to cover some exercises that you can do to help you combat that. So in total, it's a matter of explaining why these people can play so much better than you and why when you do stuff, it sounds horrendous compared to them and how you can fix that. So the first thing we need to look at, and this is going to be a lot of theory in this video. So be aware now. I'm going to explain as I go. So if you don't know, bear with me. We'll explain as we go. The first thing we need to understand is learned habits. Now, these people are good because they've played long enough that they know not scales, but the notes. And that's an important factor. When you know scales, you know, okay, this goes with that. You just know that. But you might not know what that is, you just know they go together. Now, a lot of people have perfect pitch, and that's how they learn, so they don't learn music theory. Like the Do, for example. He might know some music theory, but he's got perfect pitch recognition, meaning he can just find the notes and do it. That's good. But you should know theory for this reason, because it allows you to become better. When you have perfect pitch like the Do, I apologize, by the way. I'm like really sick, and I feel like I'm going to sneeze all over the camera. But when you have perfect pitch recognition like the Do, you kind of like, you see the notes. You don't know what they are, but you know what you're listening for and what you're looking for. That's why he doesn't really make a lot of mistakes, because he knows what he's doing. He sees the notes, and that's why he can play the way he does. So when you know theory, you'll start out learning basis theory. So you'll know C, for example, has no sharps or flats. So it's C, D, E, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that's good and dandy. You should know that. That's where you should start. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now after that, you might learn that A is the relative minor of C. So when you go, you can then slide into the A minor pentatonic scale over here and go. And you'll know it'll sound sad because it's the relative minor. Now, you also might know that it is C, E minor, D minor, G major, F major, and A minor. So that's good too. And that is the basis of theory. That's what you need to know. You need to know that the first chord is major, the second and third chord, minor, minor, major, major, minor, and then B diminished. I have no idea how to play that. I never used B diminished. Not once have I ever used it. Fun fact. But the seventh chord is always diminished. Now, when you do that, you are learning how keys are built. That's why it's good to start there. And it's also good to get that knowledge, because then when you know the notes, you know what you're looking for. So say I'm playing in the key of C. Because I know the notes, I'm able to switch in and out of different places on the fretboard. So let's go ahead and record something. So like, where would C be? Here? Yeah, so this is C. So I can go. That doesn't sound good, see? Because it's D minor. So it'd actually be. That's definitely not it. So, you know. D minor is this. I don't know how to do minor power chords. I'm not even sure if you can do minor power chords. I'm not claiming to be the theory expert. I'm claiming to know the basis of theory and the notes. So when you do make a minor chord, for those of you that don't know, it is one. So when you make a chord in general, let's start there first, because here we have 1, 3, 5, right? Same as that's a G chord. 1, 3, 5. Same with C. We have C, E, G. C, G is 1, 3, 5. And then when you play it in the open position, you put the C octave in there. Notice how it's the same note as this 5 up here when you end the first C major scale. You can play it down here. So it goes, and then E again, repeating the 1, 3, 5 pattern. And that's how chords are formed. So if I were to play C minor, it'd be 1, flat 3, 5. So it would sound more like, oops, see if I can get my fingers to go in that position, like this. Hear the difference there? It sounds sad. That's why it's a minor chord. So when you play 1, flat 3, 5, it makes the chord major. So when you take D, for example, and then you move it here, so it's the same thing, but except this note goes down 1, so it's, yeah, 1, flat 3, 5. So what makes knowing the notes so important? Knowing the notes allows you to slide in and out of different positions on the neck, and it also allows you to make bridge transfers. Now, let me demonstrate this before we get crazy here. So let's say I wanted to do just like a simple little kind of like Alright, we get that loop going. Then we need to know all the notes in C. So that means any note that's not a sharp or a flat is completely fair game. So any of those are fine, any of these are fine. Anything in D minor is fine. Anything in the C major scale is fine. Anything in the extensions are fine. And then anything up here that you know is a whole note, notice how all of those notes sounded correct. Now you can get wrong with those notes. They'll sound like they fit in there. So like, say we get that loop going and then I'm like, notice how those don't quite work. Now that's because when you're doing it, you don't want to, and this is where a lot of people get goofed up and start not sounding right. This is where not sounding like the professionals comes into play. So when you do that, you have to stick in an area. And you're not bound to that area. Because you'll notice how I moved around when I did it. I was able to come up here and go, notice how I can move all over the fretboard. But the thing is you have to have notes in between here and here. There needs to be a bridge. Otherwise, it sounds all over the place. When I say bridge, I just mean, say you want to get from point A to point B, you can't just jump. There's got to be a path or a bridge. That's what knowing the notes gets you, is you know where all the notes are that you can play. You can know all the scales in the world, it doesn't matter, because if you don't know the notes, your brain just knows the scale patterns, and that's where you'll fall into the category of not playing like the professionals. Now, the reason the professionals play the way they do and they break and make beautiful music is because they're breaking out of the scale patterns. Because when you play like, yeah, I can play scale patterns, but like, notice how it just sounded like I was playing like, I'm just playing the scale. Again, the notes fit, but it's not quite musically genius. Now, when you break out of that and you start knowing where the notes are, you can kind of like, and hit that pinch harmonic there. But you'll notice how it sounds a lot different. It doesn't sound like scales anymore, because I'm breaking out of that. I'm breaking into more like, I'm using little pickup notes that don't belong in there, like that note right, that note right there. Those notes that don't belong in there, but they're pickup notes. So you can be like, and it's blues notes is the way Marty Schwartz puts it for those notes in the A minor pentatonic. But here's the thing. Those notes is what sets everybody apart from the rest. Those notes that break the scale patterns are those patterns that break the scale patterns, like the lick, for example, is do-do-do. That's not a, it's A minor pentatonic, but extra note in there. And that note is a C major scale note. So when you're playing in A minor, that's the thing. You'll notice how those extra notes add a bit of pizzazz to it. So that's one of the things that sets them so far apart to create beautiful music. The other thing is sheer technical skill. Now, the reason that some of these players play so fast and you can't keep up with them in some of their songs, and the best examples of this that I've found are Yngwie Malmsteen and John Petrucci. Those are the two that really get me because they're odd. Now, when I say that, let's look at Yngwie's Far Beyond the Sun. Standard power chords, right? And then he does like, and it's like, what was that? So what he's doing is, and then he all of a sudden goes into this D minor. And it's this little D minor lick he does. So it's like, oops. I suck too, see? But it's a matter of doing weird shapes. Again, it's breaking out of that scale pattern. But it's because he knows the notes. And the next part of not knowing the notes, yeah, that's fine. But your fingers need to be able to play the notes. So when you do stuff that's odd like that, you'll notice how my hand is flexing differently than it would just for like a plain old... When I'm doing... See if I can get my fingers to... It's a little different than like... It's really hard to like... You see, my hand's already immediately... You'll notice my fingers are moving different things. So the reason that this is... And this is again, different than anything I've seen on the internet. If you do magic, is the best connection I have. When you spring the cards, there is a muscle that comes down from your knuckle right here, goes down, curves over, and into your thumb. Because you're using both of these muscles. Really, they both come down and curve and connect about right here. So, those muscles are over here in this hand too. They're in both hands. And they come down not only from here to here, those are from here to here. That's just the ones I use for springing the cards, because I only use 2 fingers. So, when you're playing guitar, you are using 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 if you're doing like... I don't know how often I use that, because I only use it for things like... Don't use it very often. So I don't ever use that muscle. That way, it hurts when I do that for too long, because eventually it starts to flex this muscle. So these muscles I've developed. And the way you develop those is by doing legato runs, or hammer-ons and pull-offs. And that's one way to do it, but each way you do a hammer-on and a pull-off uses the muscles differently. So, like, uses the muscles differently than, like... Notice I can't do that very well, but my pinky's strong. So the problem is, my hand's not used to that shape. And when it's not used to that shape, because it's only learned, it doesn't want to do that quickly. Because when you train your hands to do legato runs, odd legato runs, and that's the best way to overcome this, they develop different muscle tones. They're able to... Again, there's no problems there. It's just here for me. It's just here. So, the reason that is because I haven't developed those muscles. And that's what's actually this muscle right here, because I don't use that finger, so it's... right there. Notice how the next line is... I don't have trouble with, but... I do. And it's the same thing, there's a Dream Theater song. I can't think of the name... I can't think of the name of it or anything. It sounds like... That's the part I'm talking about. Oops. That right there, that's odd. You don't expect that. And it's easy to go, but that's odd for some people. You gotta shift your hand and I'm not saying it's legato, but we'll get to that in a second. But you gotta shift your hand there and it moves into legato position. So when you're playing quickly, notice how your hand will shift over the frets so you can go at it quicker. As opposed to like... If you'll notice, and guitarists like Sinister Gates do this a lot. His hands will shift when he's going to play a fast part of a solo. They'll shift from like here to here. It's straight up and down, so he can... If you don't believe me, just try it. Move your hand position. Do something you couldn't normally do at a full speed. Move your hand position and go... That was a bad example. I can't sweep for the life of me. But that's what it is. It's the hand position. It's the muscles. And that's what's holding most people back. So the best way to do that is to practice weird legato runs like that. And make sure each note is clear and concise when you do it. So like... Because when you get those legato runs down, you gotta go you don't have to go quickly, but a lot of times they do. That's what legato is for most of the time on guitars. And you actually use legato all the time, but you don't know it when you pick, because when you go like that, right there, and you'll do more complex picking patterns with more than, so it's like, notice I'm using more than 2 fingers. So that's the best way to practice, is to do complex legato runs, because when you start picking those notes, it's using legato muscles, even though it's not playing legato. And that is why people struggle so much, because a lot of people are like, I don't need that. And you'll see Tyler from Music Is Win, for example. He plays really good legato, and then you give him fast parts, and he's like... It's all in the matter of how you place your hand, and it's a matter of strengthening these muscles, is what it comes down to. Now, I do want to go ahead and say once more, if I haven't said it already in the other 50,000 recordings, in the other 50,000 recordings, if I've said it, and I haven't said it in this one, this is all my opinion. I've backed it up with facts on the instrument. I've shown you. If you're going to fix anything, you need to make sure you fix your hand positioning, you need to make sure you fix your muscles, and you need to make sure you understand the notes. Having an understanding of theory is what sets apart a good musician from a great musician. Because without that perfect pitch, you won't know where the notes are. And if you're doing something like Dream Theater and you're going quickly, you don't have time to think where the notes are. Now, I know what you're going to say, oh, my hands know the shape because I wrote it and I practiced it or whatever. That's fine, but it's exactly why you won't be able to create and do those things well, because you're learning shapes. You're not learning, hey, these notes go here, they sound good together. I know I can put 4 and 5 together. I know I can put 3 and 5 together. I know I can play 1, 3, 5 and outline a chord. That's not what you're learning. You're learning, these notes go with this key, and that's great, because instead of learning, okay, key of C, no sharps, no flats. You're instead learning, okay, I know in the key of C I can play this fret, this fret, this fret, this fret, this fret, this fret, this fret. That's what you want to break away from. It's not frets, it's notes. When you look at the guitar, you got to go A. I immediately know that's A, or immediately know that's C. So C, A, that's what you got to get in the mindset of, is, hey, this goes here. Like, if I wanted to switch keys all of a sudden, say I was going like, and then I went to D, I need to know that that applies, that applies now, so. So D is F sharp and C sharp. That changes this note to this note, and that changes this note to this note. That's why you need to know that, because you need to be quick on your toes, because if you're playing with other people, you got to be able to do that. And without the theory or the knowledge, you're never going to get anywhere. And that is my 2 cents on the entire thing. So, if you like this video, please leave a like, please subscribe. I am sorry if I didn't convey my thoughts well in this video, but it is now 25 minutes long, and I've recorded this way too many times. So, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you guys all for watching, and as always, stay passionate. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you like this, if you don't like this, there's a lot of theory in here. I tried to explain it as best as I could, but I think it's just an interesting concept, because a lot of people are held back from being these professional people. And all it is finger independence and knowing the notes. And a lot of that is visualizing where you're going on the fretboard, saying, hey, I know I can play these notes, so let me just go ahead and look at those notes, know any of these notes work, so as long as my fingers hit one of those notes, it's fine. It's staying in those shapes. It's knowing you have to have bridge notes. It's all of it. Everything combined together that I have said in this entire video is going to make you a better guitarist. So I hope that helps, and I hope you guys apply this and just go ahead and tag me on Instagram and stuff with some videos of you guys playing. You guys really show me your progress. Once more, thank you guys for watching, and stick around for more content.